Hello, brethren. What a wonderful evening that the good Lord has given me this wonderful chance. Today I'm going to reflect on a general topic on the famous great words spoken by the great American president, the former President Ray JF Kennedy. Once he said, "We all occupy this small planet and breathe the same air." Kennedy was a man of his time. Kennedy was a prophet of his time. He derived most of his speeches from the book of Isaiah. He spoke of genuine peace. And he spoke not only peace for his time, but peace for all time. He understood the challenges of his time because in his days, Kennedy lived a time that the United States and the Soviet Union were at crossroads. There were two superpowers. Today we live in a different times. We live in a materiality world order, which is much challenging and more complicated. No one power can dictate to the other power what it wants. We have seen this in practical terms. We are seeing it in our eyes and in our minds. And we have seen the, the challenges posted by misinformation and fear. You see, one media says, if you watch across the media, you will be surprised. One media says there's an imminent war. The other people on the other side say they are not interested in war. They have put their grievances before the other states and the other powers so that the other powers can do what? Can respond in kind. If we go back in J.F. Kennedy's words, he spoke with clarity and said that we must submit our grievances to a justice system so that each and every one of us they will listen to one another. Nation, peace is a process. Was the greatest words of J.F. Kennedy. And he understood in a nuclear age, if there is misinformation, miscalculation, and misinformation, miscalculation, something can go wrong. And this age, there will be no winners. Because if you go in the Second World War, go study the Soviet Union, what happened? There were over 27 million Russian and people of the former Soviet Union who died. 27 million. And the other state, they didn't have that impact. So the nuclear at the Hiroshima, which was detonated there and it killed many people. Think about that. There were more than 70 million Germans who died and other nations. But in our time, the war that would be fought will be different. It will not because the other side doesn't decide. They lost many men. The war will be more precise and it will not be like that. Why? Because we live in the most dangerous times, but men must choose understanding. They must choose peaceful settlement of their disputes. If they do otherwise, because they think they have a upper hand, guess what? The other side will say, okay, we are not going to compromise. And that's what exactly we are experiencing in our time. We live in a multipolarity world order. In a multipolarity world order, every polar has its strength. They have formed alliances, and their interests must also not be sacrificed for the expense of the other states. And that is why there's so much conflict in our time. Like Kennedy, he said that the reason why we have conflict because the Soviets wanted to impose their will on who? On free people. Similar today, the other side of the highway want to impose their will through economics. They use economic sanctions to impose their free will on free people. They use military conquest to impose their will on free people. They use all kinds of exploitation. Too bad, too late. The world is changing. We are not living in post-Soviet era. We are not living in the immediate post-Soviet era where the Soviet, the disintegration of the Soviet Union. Nations have reaffirmed themselves. They have united. If you go back to study the history of our modern world. You see the formation of the League of Nations, 1920. Coming up, 1945, the formation of the United Nations and the writing of the United Nations Charter. And there was NATO Atlantic Treaty. The organization was formed in 1949. And then you come to 1991, the disintegration of the Soviet Union. And then post, there's the Cold War and all those things. And you see all that. Now, the world has changed. China is on the rise. It's an economic superpower, plus a military. Nations have acquired nuclear weapons from Syria and from even Israel, India. We have Pakistan. We have other countries, Russia, the United States, the French, and many the British. All those nations are they have nuclear and they are prepared to fight. If in any cause, the world would be in a brink of war. That's why our times men are intense because they are afraid of what would happen. That's why they are anticipating. Anticipation is what is causing many problems in our time. So, what's the solution to our time? Let's reflect on these beautiful words JFK Kennedy spoke over 59 years ago. He said that we all occupy this small planet and breathe the same air, that all nations dwell in the same planet. They breathe the same air. So we are not indifferent. We don't want to see others as if they are inferior to us. That's what was happening. That was causing the tensions in the world. And today we have similar circumstances. One thinks that his interest surpasses the interest of the other nation. If that is the mentality that nations will carry, there will be a dangerous war, there will be a dangerous world, and the world will be devastated or destroyed in a blink of an eye. My friends, let us refrain from what is happening in our time. Let the media be the spokesman of the world, be the vigilantes. Like Kennedy warned the media in his time that they should not fuel the violence. Look at nowadays what we are seeing. The media is contributing to more tense situations in our world order system. So, what need to be done? Was Kennedy a prophet of his time? Yes, he was. In his words, they are more relevant in our time. We see that in the way he responded to the Soviet Union. He spoke to the Soviet Union. He took leadership as his personal responsibility. That's why the United States came ahead in that time. Today, the world has changed. There is the nations have aligned through alliances different. We have the East versus the West led by the United States and the European Union, and the East led by China and Russia. We see that practical in our eyes in our time. The United States leads with economics and military. China leads with economics, and Russia leads with military and some of its diplomatic ways of undertaking world diplomacy and using the best solutions they have. We have the United Nations Security Council and the veto powers. Despite that, we also have other alliances like the European Union, we have African Union, we have the Arab League, we have Asian states and all that. You see, the nations are changing and the demographics of our time are changing. So no one nation can think in our modern age to have superior power than the other. So we must accept the time that we live. We live in a multipolarity world order where many polars must submit their grievances to a justice system. No one military power can conquer the world. The world can never be conquered by one power. So, let it be. Brethren, stay tuned as we continue to explore the challenges affecting our modern times. God bless you and God be with you.